A farm in Louisiana has contracted a staffing agency group to help them find employees, to pick blueberries on their farm. I wonder who these people voted for, and I wonder what happened to all their employees. But let's look at the criteria, the requirements for this employment. So this is a 3-month contract from May to July. You will be working 7 days a week. So you will work every day for 3 months. You will work 9 to 10 hours a day for $11 per hour. And I looked at this little small town city in Louisiana, and it's in the 80s. So for 3 months straight, you're going to be working 7 days a week. You're going to work every day for 10 hours a day for $11 per hour. I see why they needed a staffing agency. We already know that this is a town that went red, that voted for Trump. And now they don't have any employees. And I'm almost positive most of their employees were probably immigrants, some undocumented, some documented. And I hope the ones that do have their papers, that do have their citizenship or whatever, I hope that they don't work anymore. I hope that they quit. Make these farmers pick their own damn blueberries, okay? Because this requirement, to work here is actually crazy. It's actually crazy, and nobody should have to work 7 days per week in 90-degree weather every freaking day for $11. That's crazy. Pick your own damn blueberries. This is what y'all get. You're in your F around and find out season, and you want to know what's going to happen? What I believe is going to happen? Slave labor is going to be prison labor. Pretty soon, these farmers are going to start making deals with prisons and stuff like that, and they're going to have those prisoners out there picking strawberries and blueberries. Watch, that's what's gonna happen.
Look, here comes a consequences of my actions chasing me right now. I don't want no consequence. I don't want no consequences chasing me right now.
So a lot of people may have missed it, but have y'all seen this? So first, let me describe what you're seeing. What you are seeing is a protest by Maine farmers. These are people, by and large, who voted for and supported Donald Trump. While Kamala won the state of Maine, and she won it by not the margins that you would typically see when there was a clear difference between what Donald Trump was saying and what Kamala was saying. He won, Donald Trump won this specific district where there is a significant population of rural voters and farmers. So this is how the news in Maine explained this situation.
The Department of Agriculture has angered those who work on small farms across the state.
Political reporter Kate McCusker heard from Maine's farmers who gathered to protest in Augusta today.
With some arriving on tractors and one even carrying a bucket of manure, today Maine farmers gathering to protest recent cuts by the Trump administration. Several farmers from across the state spoke out against recent cuts by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to school lunch programs and food banks. They say federal funding is crucial for small farmers to sustain their business. Some say they've already invested money that the federal government had promised to reimburse them for, or have signed contracts to support them. And overall, they say the uncertainty and confusion is hurting the industry.
This is not a partisan issue for me. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a Mainer who thinks we need farms and farmers to feed people in our state.
So Maine farmers, help me to do the math here. 1 + 1 = 2. The sky is what color? Blue. If someone tells you who they are, it's best you believe them. Donald Trump said that these were the things that he was going to do. And he did them. He talked about tariffs, and he talked about cutting the Department of Agriculture. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. This is your around and find out moment. Just enjoy it. Take it like a man or woman. You voted for this. This is exactly what you deserve.
White farmers are raging. Why? Because black people are not lining up to pick crops under the hot sun. And ever since Donald Trump's immigration crackdown, their go-to labor force is disappearing. But let's be real, this is not just about policy. It is about history, power, and dignity. Watch and pay attention, and I will share my thought later.
Y'all, I have some mixed feelings about these farmers that are getting screwed over by these tariffs. There's part of me that wants to laugh in their faces and say, congratulations, you got exactly what you voted for, bro. And then there's another side of me that understands that these people are just too simple and don't really understand what they did.
You don't want to hear this price I'm about to give you. I said, well, give it to me anyways. He said, each of those steaks now is going to be $1.74 a piece. I said, well,
Double the price.
We can't do that, and that's going to be impossible. So that's just to let you know a little bit of what we're going through out here on our farm and what farmers in general are going through. These tariffs, not the best thing for our country. I voted for Trump.
Now, if you didn't catch that at the end, he said, these tariffs aren't the best thing for our country, and I voted for Trump. These people don't really pay attention to the news. These are people that just listen to what Earl says down at the diner, and he's voted Republican his whole life because they're the party of God. And speaking of God, there are a lot of these farmers that say, you know what? I'm not that worried because God's got this.
Lot of faith, and our faith is in God and not in administration.
In agriculture, there's about 85% of what happens on my farm that is completely out of my control.
Yeah.
So I have to do the very best I can at managing that 15% of inputs and costs and labor and marketing and signing the best contract and doing the best job that I can and leave the other 85% up to the good Lord. And that's all we can do, whether it's weather or disease or a hailstorm or a pandemic or administration.
They're trying to compare these tariffs to a natural disaster, but this isn't a natural disaster. This was a decision made by one man who is screwing them over. And they're just like, well, it's in the Lord's hands. What can we do? And this, again, is why religion is so dangerous. They're willing to accept financial ruin because the Lord's got this, so I'm not going to be worried about what Trump decides to do. And my friends over at the Cowboy Church told me that God put him in office for a reason. And that's just it. When you think that there's a supernatural force just watching over you at all times, nothing matters. Your family might starve. Well, if that's what God wants, who am I to argue with him? If you don't get your kid vaccinated, they could easily die of a disease that's easily preventable. Well, if that's what the Lord wants, I'm not going to be able to stop him. And that is why religion is one of the most dangerous things on this planet. Because these people have been convinced that they are completely out of control of things that they could completely control if they wanted to. And the sad thing is that we need our farmers, but Darwinism is going to take them all away from us if they don't get away from this Christian nationalist way of thinking. Unfortunately, I just don't see that happening. Do you?
Well, it happened. The tariffs are now hitting American farmers, and they are making TikTok videos left, right, and center complaining about the costs of actually running their farms. You gotta watch this.
I called 2 weeks ago to get a quote on these fiberglass steaks because we need some more steaks this year. I got a quote, 83 cents. I called the man this morning. I said, hey, I know these tariffs are crazy, everything going on. I said, what can you do me on those fiberglass steaks now if we needed a load? It's a 3-month ETA from time you place the order. He said, Taylor, you don't want to hear this price that I'm about to give you. And I said, well, give it to me anyways. He said, each of those steaks now is going to be $1.74 a piece. I said, well, you know, and I know both that we can't do that, and that's going to be impossible. Just to let you know a little bit of what we're going through out here on our farm and what farmers in general are going through. These tariffs, not the best thing for our country. I voted for Trump.
So the big question is, the Republican Congress people and senators, who are they afraid of? Think about it. Who are they afraid of? The current administration is not going to pew-pew them or send them to El Salvador. That's going to look pretty bad, no? I believe they're all part of a big mafia ring, and somebody promised these people big dividends when this is all over. For a bunch of people who are supposed to be so intelligent, why would you destroy your own country? The more people that you have working, paying taxes, this is not about fentanyl. This is not about criminals, because If ICE can pick up people off the street and find people who they deem illegal, they can also find these drug dealers. And if that's the case and you want to get rid of these people, then lock them up in your own jails. But there seems to be a backroom deal that's going on, and the average American is going to pay for it.
It was awful. I don't know what it is about the older generation who want to pass in their own home, but no, I don't. I don't want to cross over to the other side in my home. I don't want my family to be the ones administering my medication, to be taking care of me. I want to be in the hospital. I want to be on a medicated drip. I want people who are trained to deliver this medication for a living, being the one caring for me, even if it is in my final days, and we all know where this is heading, that this is comfort care. I want comfort in the hospital. I don't want it in my home. There's nothing comfortable about that. I just had to do that with my father last week. Hospice is a wonderful resource. Please, by all means, do not take this the wrong way. Did not feel equipped to be caring for my father around the clock with my mom and my sisters, administering this medication, trying to figure out what his symptoms were and trying to interpret that, and calling hospice on the phone, and well, what do we do now? And this medication's not working. And he looks uncomfortable. He's making this noise, or no, he hasn't talked, or his breathing is this, far apart, or this is what it sounds like, or it was hell for us providing the care, torture us. And now, hospice professionals will tell you that those who are in the late stages, we may interpret that as suffering, but it's not suffering as what we would perceive it to be. You can't tell me that somebody gurgling and making all this noise and struggling to breathe isn't suffering. So, not only was it hard enough to watch my father take a week to go of not eating or drinking anything, and then administering this medication to calm him down and make him sleep and reduce his pain and try to address his breathing issues and whatever else we were kind of guesstimating. But we were watching this all unfold. We knew where we were going. This was his wish. He wanted to do this in his home. It sucked. It was one of the most gut-wrenching experiences of my life. But if I had the choice, I would not want to put my family through that. It would be hard enough sitting there and witnessing it and holding space and being present for that person. But then to have the responsibility put on those same family members who don't know anything about providing medical care, to be the ones responsible for delivering the medication and interpreting the symptoms and trying to mitigate that and stay up around the clock delivering this medication. And it was horrendous. It was awful. Give me comfort care in the hospital.
Wow, mainstream media is having a massive meltdown. So as many of you guys have probably already seen, after the debates, there's normally questions being asked by the media. It didn't happen yesterday after the English debates, and I had no idea why. And then I started seeing some clips from behind the scenes of independent media outlets recording others like the Hill Times, and it looked like it was the CBC, and they were losing it. They were absolutely livid, going off on independent media, basically telling them, why are you here? You shouldn't be here. You're doing this on behalf of third-party advertisers. The nonsense that was coming out, it made them look absolutely insane. I was actually shocked by some of the things that were being said. These are supposed to be our legitimate news stations. These are supposed to be the legitimate news sources that we're supposed to go to for our day-to-day information. This is what mainstream media has become. They are so far left and far gone that they're so bothered by the fact that once in every 4 years, independent news media outlets get to ask, one or two questions to our political leaders. When literally about 99% of the time when they try asking those questions, they refuse to. Look at Jagmeet Singh. He was asked a legitimate question after the French debates. He refused to answer. He said, no, I'm not going to answer. Your news outlet is misinformation and disinformation. He didn't like the way the question was worded. But I guess the left had created such a massive outrage yesterday, and they created themselves apparently some sort of a security incident. And I honestly don't buy it for a second. I think it has to do with the fact that how disastrous both Mark Carney and Jagmeet Singh were when they were asked legitimate questions from independent media. And the reason I'm using independent media is when you have state-funded media, you work for the government. CBC is literally a crown corporation owned by the government who receives billions of dollars from the government. What sort of independence is there? Did you know that CBC gets over twice as much funding than CSIS does? Imagine the US, just as an example, subsidizing, Fox News in the tunes of billions of dollars, and they get more money than the CIA got. The whole world would lose it. Why are we allowing this? Why is this okay? Why is this normal? It's not. CBC needs to be completely reformed and completely revamped. How do you measure the success of content? It's simple. How many people consume it? It doesn't matter if they read it, if they see it on TV, or if they see it here on the phone. It's how they consume it. CBC literally spends hundreds of millions of dollars bringing news content to TV stations that no one's watching. In fact, I can almost guarantee that this video here, as it makes its rounds, than any sort of CBC news. I'm just a guy in my basement with a phone. And I don't know if you know this, but I get more views than CBC and CTV combined. So what does that tell you? Should I get $1 billion? They are so desperate to keep independent media outlets quiet because their views are now surpassing billion-dollar organizations owned by the federal government. The madness needs to end. CBC needs massive reform. They need a massive digital transformation, and it all starts at the top.
I don't even know if this is breaking news. This is crazy news. The president just said I'm going to be as kind as I can here, some of the most crazy things I have ever heard any human say. And the words are just dangerous and silly, and I wish I had more adjectives. But he was talking about birthright citizenship, and he clearly has not read the 14th Amendment, because the 14th Amendment is very clear. All persons, that's how it starts off. All persons, all of them, all persons. It wasn't talking about slavery, it was talking about all people born in the United States. Yeah, and he went on to say that the whole 14th Amendment is really just about slavery, and and I have to admit, I tried to listen to what he said, and it was the most garbled mess I have ever heard any human produce. And this man is the leader of our country. I don't know how we survive 3 more years of this. I'm being as honest as I can be. I just don't know how we survive 3 more years of that type of nonsense. Do you? What do you suggest?
And because it's Good Friday, I think a little reminder is in order. I think a reminder of the smarter choice, which didn't happen, is a little in order. So I'm going to take you back to a time where a foreseeing of where we are today was predicted and was told to the American people by the person who would have done the actual opposite and wanted the job to make your life better. So I'm gonna just go ahead and let this play, and we will discuss, or maybe not, maybe just look at each other on the other side.
Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you.
Now, what I was gonna do is run that video all day long today. Just clip it and run it all day long today. I'm gonna put it in my stories, just in its free form, because she told you. She told all of us. Now, she didn't win. You didn't want her. And everything she said in that statement, everything the economists told her would happen, has what? Now, she jokingly said, I told you so. Probably meant it. And then got criticized, as usual, for it. I don't think that was the tone to take. Well, you know what? It wasn't a strong, I needed a stronger tone for her to take. Because she did tell you. She did. And Democrats still aren't loud enough about it. AOC and Bernie and Chris Murphy and a few are speaking, and Cory Booker, a few are speaking out. But I'm gonna need all of them to be sounding the motherfucking alarm every fucking day. Echoing everything that we just heard. Madam Vice.
Delete all your recordings in the
Echo stop. Huh? The fuck? Oh, I see. I said okay, I know what I said. Anyway, they all need to be repeating what she just said in that video. This is where we are. Democrats still aren't mad enough for me. They're not. I understand y'all taking it to the streets, but Democrats in Washington, who are the minority, need to be madder. Fuck civil discourse. Fuck that. Be civil later when you take the House and the Senate back. But right now, do what they would do. Things aren't normal. It's not business as usual. You can be civil at home with your family, but when you're at work, I need you out there fighting for me and for us. That means using words that, that don't sound like a Democrat said that. Make it, yeah. That's what I need them to be saying on Fox News. Boy, they've gotten so mean. Fucking right. That's what I need Fox News to be saying about Democrats. What happened to the party of the... Fuck that. Y'all turned the party of civility into what we are. We have sunk to the occasion. And when Democrats start doing this and matching toe-to-toe with this nonsense, you'll see approval numbers change. You'll see opinions change. That's all Americans want. Just to see somebody out there fighting for them. You want to win elections in this climate now? That's what you got to do. Follow on Instagram and YouTube, y'all, so we can continue this conversation. Because I don't know how much longer TikTok has. So there's that. Thank you.
Just like I said, it was going to be a wild Friday today. So can somebody please tell me why they have Little Miss Caroline? We should have left it alone, leave it, Levitt, whatever the hell her name is, out here talking about how Abrego Garcia is never coming back. Then they posted on their White House page. Y'all are petty Crocker, little bitch ass babies. And to SCOTUS, look. They're literally out here lying on y'all. defaming, defamation, slander, whatever you want to go there. They have everything. They have done more in this corrupt administration than any of the people that they're trying to deport. Real motherfucking talk. It is time to revoke the immunity. Like, stop playing. Stop playing in people's faces. You're getting your face played in. You're playing in our faces. Stop giving us all this false hope and do your fucking job. Now. Like, this is insanity. So every time Caroline opens her mouth, it's pay-per lie now instead of pay-per-view. Is she getting paid? Like, I know she's getting paid, but is she getting paid per every lie she tells? You know, just to keep the repetitive manipulation going for MAGA so that they stay complacent in their little cult goblin states? Because I cannot. Somebody, anybody, if I could, trust me, baby boy, baby girl, everybody, I would. Anyway, drop in the comments, because come get these badass kids. They just running amok. And they are. These are giant adult children. Badass toddlers that need a butt whooping. Like 3 months ago. 3 months ago. Drop it. And let's make one more thing clear, okay? Do not use either of these two words when you're talking about this regime anymore. Mistake or accident. Simply because there has been no mistake and there is no accidents on what the hell they're doing. They're not mistakenly deporting people. They're not accidentally doing shit. They know exactly what the hell they're doing, and they're trying to make it look cutesy because there's no freaking accountability. It is not cute. It's not demure. It's none of that. So do not give them that. Do not enable the fucked up behavior that this regime is doing by saying it was an accident or mistake, bitch. It's not. It's not. There is none of that. There is no mistake. There's no accident. Stop it. Carry on.
Buddies at work's talking about, do you not know that these tariffs are going to make all of our stuff go up in price? We can't afford the shit as it is, blah, blah, blah. Well, if it was such a concern, how come every country in this known world had tariffs? Some of these countries had 150%, even more than that, tariffs on the United States. But the very second that we start talking about, we're going to put tariffs on your ass, oh, now the panic starts. Do you ever wonder why the panic starts? It's the exact same panic that you hear from the Democratic Party when we cut off all the slush funds for USAID. Let's just be real. It was a money laundering system. These people were getting rich on my tax dollars and your tax dollars. All right? The very second Trump puts tariffs on these people, you hear them panicking. Oh my God, what are we going to do? We can't do this. Blah, blah, blah. Damn America. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's time for us to start living like kings. All right? We paid for it, by God. My tax dollars have been going to allow these people to live beautiful lives while my family has to struggle and work overtime continuously to make ends meet. It's time for this dude and that dude and this woman to start living better. That's what this is about. We cut their slush funds off. We're tired of getting raped and robbed through our freaking markets, through our freaking tax dollars. And that's the reason why you hear the boo-hooing. Ooh. Yeah, well, get a job. Got a lot of damn jobs available coming soon. Time to get up off your dead ass and quit eating them Cheetos and Doritos and playing your little video games while on the clock with your punk ass.
Under Trump's new immigration policies, migrant labor, mostly from Latin America, has slowed dramatically. ICE raids, visa courts, and border crackdown mean fewer hands in the fields. And now, Desperate white farmers are asking, where are the black workers? But let's stop right there. You want black people to go back to the field. Not today, not ever. For over 300 years, black people in America were forced to work on farms, picking cotton, sugar, and tobacco, with no pay, no freedom, no justice. After slavery came sharecropping, where the system still trapped us in cycles of debt and poverty. Today, asking black folks to help out with farm labor as if this country forget that trauma. It is not just tone deaf, it is insulting. White farmers have been the biggest recipient of land, subsidies, and government protection for over a century. Meanwhile, black farmers were systematically pushed off their land, denied loans, and shut out of federal programs. Now, in 2025, the same people who ignored our struggle are calling us lazy because we do not want to go back to the plantation in denaming over us. Make it make sense. Today's black generation is educated, tech-savvy, and forward-thinking. We are building businesses, becoming engineers, artists, investors. If we return to the land, it should be to own it, not to work for someone else. Here is the truth. White farmers depend on cheap, vulnerable labor for generations. Now, when the labor force dries up, instead of paying high wages or improving conditions, they want to blame the very people they once exploited. That is not economics. That is entitlement, and Black America is not signing up for it. So to the angry farmers shouting at cameras and calling black folks ungrateful, we owe you nothing. If you want labor, pay people fairly, treat them with dignity, and maybe, just maybe, your fields will not be empty. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comment box below. Until next time, cheers and have a good one.